You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Imaging Services, Posture Screen, Mahalo Wellness, Chiro Moguls, 5-Star Management, Chiro Health USA, Local Gold, The Goodman Factor, McCaffrey Clinical Mentoring, Chiro Thin, Unmarket Your Practice, and Free My Pain Now with Dr. Matt Doduro. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 138 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your co-host Luke Millette, and here's your host Jim Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing the Duke, Troy Dukowitz, and if you want to hear about his hobby, stay tuned. So we have Troy Dukowitz. This is episode 138, and we're just going to roll right into this. It's going to be a dynamic episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. So first question we always ask you, Dr. Troy, is tell us your chiropractic story and what really influenced you to become a chiropractor.
It's amazing. At 49, you go, holy shit, that was a long time ago. And you brought that up, the whole 49 thing, by the way. You know what? It's interesting because when you just say that, I want to go to the initial story, and the initial story is kind of like the simple one. Here I was at the University of Illinois. I went there to become a math teacher and realized that I didn't want to be a math teacher. I still wanted to do something that would impact people's lives, especially kids. I still wanted to take care of people and some way, somehow kind of coach them in life. And I then stumbled upon, at that time, chiropractic, because there was a class that we took at the university that allowed you to go investigate different professions, and it would help you. It was meant to help you kind of figure out what it is that you wanted to do. And as a kid, so if I go back further, I go back to when I was actually a kid, because my brother went to a chiropractor when I was a kid. My mom went to a chiropractor, and I always wanted to go to the chiropractor. And so I didn't know why. I just wanted to go because I thought it was super cool. And I loved the popping sound. I know I shouldn't say that. That's like blasphemy in chiropractic, but like I was so fascinated by it, even though I had no idea what it did. And as a kid, I knew that it felt good. So that had to be something that was good. And so like, there's the first story of here I am in college, and I went to this doctor's office, and she interviewed me, and I sat down, and she shared with me a very impactful story. And that story was about a man who had trigeminal neuralgia. He couldn't turn his head. And all of a sudden she adjusted him one day, and he couldn't even speak. And she adjusted him one day, and he turned, looked at the angel on, this is a true story, looked at the angel on her windowsill, looked at her with a tear in his eye and said, "You're my angel." Like, that's what I was exposed to as a student in college. And I'm like, okay, I want to do this. But if I go back further, I have to go back to my own personal experience. There was something already in my soul that was driving me to it, that my mom's getting chiropractic, my brother's getting chiropractic, and I just wanted chiropractic. So there was something innately that was already going on within me that was stirring. And it just so happened that when I was in college and realized math teacher isn't the road, it's not the path, there's something else, that I stumbled upon her. Her name is Dr. Sandra Schwartz. From that point on, I literally went home that night after my mom and dad had heard me talk about what I'm going to be when I grow up. And I told them, hey, guess what? By the way, I'm changing my major again. And so they were exposed to that. It's like, okay, yeah, you're going to be a chiropractor. You're going to be a chiropractor. And then sure enough, 5 years later, I graduate as a chiropractor.
So now that you're here, what would you say makes you unique or different in the chiropractic world?
I think all right, there's a couple ways we can go with this. First of all, I think we're all unique. Might not be the answer that you're looking for. It might not even be the sexy answer. To be a chiropractor, and by the way, I couple you guys, I know you might not be adjusting people, but I know the impact that you're making. And I say the same thing about CAs too. I sit in an audience with CAs and I'm like, let's be clear, everyone here, I am talking to chiropractors, because it takes a unique individual to get involved in chiropractic, to understand the challenges and the battles that we have to deal with every single day, to understand what it takes to be told no so many times about something that we could be really passionate about and really excited about. And sometimes that no comes from people that we love and care about. And yet we still have to dig into our hearts and our souls and go tell the story yet one more time. So I think like my uniqueness might be more so that I honor that in everybody. And that I'm not here trying to make, it's what pisses me off about Facebook, is that everybody has an opinion about what everybody's doing wrong. all of a sudden, I just did a post today about, yesterday, actually, it's kind of funny. And I was just asking like, hey, what's your number one way to explain chiropractic in table talk? And I didn't get as many hits on it as I wanted. And I knew one of the reasons why is because we're so critical of each other. We're so critical. So if somebody writes their answer, they're probably even shaking when they write it because they're waiting for another chiropractor to fly in and blindside them and tell them how it's wrong, how you better not be educating that way. It's like, and that is going to be the death of us, that we can't just honor the uniqueness that's within each of us and honor that I have a different way of explaining it than maybe you do, but it still honors the innate abilities of what is capable inside of me. But yet everybody wants to play, or not, I shouldn't say everybody, because that's horrible. You guys aren't playing this holier than thou game. You're honoring of it, which is why you put a diverse group of people on your interviews. So you can get different insights and different understandings from people, because maybe what I say is going to resonate with somebody today differently than what a person said last week. So if we actually started to honor the uniqueness of each of us, which is what I do, is honor that uniqueness, I think what starts to happen is we start to honor that voice. And then maybe the next, if I post that same question, maybe a month from now, maybe I'll get 100 responses. Because it's not people saying what you're doing wrong, but it's saying keep it up and keep doing what's right.
Well, you know, I was hiking with Luke last night at sunset. I was like, Luke, think about how much opportunity we have. I mean, we're talking to a friend of ours that wants to start like a men's empowerment podcast for like guys that are struggling with marriage or with their significant other, just staying in relationships. Another guy has another idea for a podcast, helping, gosh, what was the other podcast idea?
I don't remember.
Oh, he works on the oil fields, and he wants to start making a connection for men that are away from their families as well. But he wants to come on an angle of like guys that are away from their families and how they can keep their relationships strong, and start interviewing men that have like jobs away from home.
Right.
There's a lot of those guys out there that are military guys that are out there working in the oil fields. I mean, you could probably come up with a list of like 50 jobs where guys travel around, sales guys, reps, weekend warrior type dudes that do like the boots for like vacuum cleaners even. Anyways, I was like, Luke, the great thing about what we've accomplished is we have an unlimited supply of dynamic, diverse people that want to share their story about chiropractic, because as you've been in the profession for, 20 plus years, you know that since day one, what were you told? Educate your community, tell your story, get out there and be loud and proud about what you do and tell those people how you can help them and what you do and how you serve them. There's not one chiropractor that's in our network that would not feel blessed and happy and thankful to have us interview them so they could tell their story about what makes them unique and interesting in this chiropractic space.
That's awesome. I love it.
It's like how much commitment does it take for a chiropractor to have the self-esteem to do what you did, to do what continuously happens, to go in and not only expecting miracles, but delivering it. And keeping the self-esteem with the business, with the family, with the whole tribal unit of, like you said, the reason people don't want to talk about what works is because others will sling mud at them. Yep. So it's been.
Look, I'm in a program. I've been doing this program for I think it's 13 years now. I don't even know the exact number, so I apologize if my math is off. But it's called Total Solution with CLA, Chiropractic Leadership Alliance. One of the questions we ask in the program is on Saturday. And it becomes, what is a subluxation? You know what I've seen for 13 years?
Different answers.
Silence. Silence. That's what I've witnessed for 13 years. Silence. Why? Because of exactly what we're talking about right now. The fear of raising my hand, giving an answer about what subluxation is, and somebody slinging mud and telling me I'm wrong. And we don't even, it's a safe place up there. There's not even mudslinging. Like by the time you get to the third day, you're not feeling like anybody's going to sling mud, but yet people are still sitting on these, not raising their hand because there's still the fear that their answer is going to some way, somehow be judged and be wrong. And I remember this goes back many, many years ago now. I had a conversation, I'm thinking probably around 2001, 2002 with Dr. Christopher Kent. And we were talking about the garden hose theory. And like, just me saying that right now, some people are just like, we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't talk about the garden hose theory. But guess who understands the garden hose?
People.
And Christopher and I were talking about that. And Patrick Chen Temple was on this as well. It was an on-purpose interview. And we all were talking about this in the sense of, it doesn't matter if we like it or not. What matters is that we are giving them ways to understand what we do. And if the way that Jim next door understands chiropractic is because I tell him about a garden hose, then I'm going to tell him about a garden hose for the next fucking month. And if you don't like it, that's okay. You don't have to like me as a chiropractor. You don't have to like me as a man. I am comfortable in my own skin. I am not doing this because I'm worried about what other people think about me. I do what I do because I want to make an imprint in this world and make a difference. And when chiropractors can get to that point of not worrying and go to my page and write down, here's the way that I like to explain subluxation. And somebody comes in and says, well, you shouldn't do that. Say, great, I honor your opinion, but you must honor mine. And let's move on. Let's stay within the realms of the principles of chiropractic. Like, let's stay in that lane of the principles of chiropractic, but stop telling each other how wrong they are for the way they explain chiropractic. Let's just find easy and digestible ways for them to get it. We've got to stop explaining it like we're sitting at a freaking neurology seminar. When we hear something that sounds brilliant, like, oh, I'm gonna go share that with my patients, and your patients look at you like, no hable español. Right? Like, what did you just say? But that's what we keep doing.
Well, it's a critical group of high-level healers, and it's been self-imposed.
Oh, totally.
And it's also one of the questions that we kind of tripwire with our interview process is what makes you unique in the chiropractic space. There's not one chiropractor that I would go to that would adjust me the same way.
Right.
Because it's a different skill set. It's a different force of the adjustment. Like if I go see you and I go see 3 other people in your town within a 5-mile radius, each person is going to have a unique way of removing that subluxation.
Yep. And are they connected here and here?
And they're all going to tell me, but they're all going to tell me, Dr. Troy, that whatever they're doing is the right thing for their office. Mm-hmm. And they do it this way for this purpose.
And here's the thing. Hopefully they'll say that. Or they'll say, I don't know what the other chiropractor, look, this is the part that still happens 20 years later. It happened 20 years before I came along. The statement from Larry Markson, who said, we're the only profession that circles the wagons and fires inward. There's also chiropractors out there who will just straight up say, no, that's not the way you should be adjusted. This is the way you should do it.
And don't go see the guy down the street, I'm the best. I'm glad that
you know what we do?
Glad you quit seeing him.
You know what we do? Somebody calls our office and they say, hey, we heard that you specialize in kids, and I'm currently seeing Dr. So-and-so. You know what we do? We'll talk to you over the phone and we say, here's what we prefer that you do. Go back and sit down with Dr. Joe and let him know your concerns, let him know what you're looking for, and ask him if he can help you with what you're trying to take care of.
Boom.
That's it. Because we're not here to steal other people's patients.
Boom.
We help them by teaching them how to communicate to their own chiropractor.
Boom. It's the first time I've ever boomed like that, by the way.
That's what we do. That's our mentality. That's our mentality. It's a mentality that I hope bleeds into the profession, because we're not going to serve a community. We're not going to change the world if we're trying to steal patients from each other. If we're trying to moralize that my adjustment is better than your adjustment, or you're doing it wrong, we're not going to create worldwide change. We're going to be the same position that we've been in for the last 100 years.
You know what they're going to do? They're going to go home to their family. They're going to be like, wow, I just talked to this chiropractor that said the guy we've been seeing for the past 5 years was full of it.
Yep.
His credits.
Gone. And both of their credits gone. Because now you put doubt in the chiropractor they were seeing. And who the hell are you to tell me that my chiropractor was wrong?
Mm-hmm.
So now if they pick one of you, they're going to pick the lesser of the two evils.
And let's just throw this ball around like it's been dentistry. Do you think that the guy that goes home into the new dentist that moves across the town goes and says, dude, that other dentist I saw did it this way and he sucked.
Yeah.
I've actually said that about one of my dentists. But
full disclosure, I'm not a big dentist fan anyway. And we have a dentist. He's a great guy. I just don't like the actual act of sitting in a chair and having people drill in my.
For sure. But, the analogy's been tossed around so often.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So before we all move on, I want to touch back to the uniqueness about you, Troy.
Okay.
You're a speaker, yes?
Yep.
What are some of the topics that you do in your talks, and what are some of the stages that you were able to grace?
So stages, I've been all over. I've been on Cal Jam stage for 4 or 5 years. I've been very blessed to be able to travel down to Australia, speak on a Parker stage there, and then also the Australian Research Foundation's programs down there. Scotland for, I can't remember the name of it now, the Edinburgh Lectures, throughout Canada. And then obviously the United States, which is, Parker and Parker Vegas and Parker Dallas and Parker, all the Parkers, Life University, Dr. Jill Marsh. And then groups, ChiroFest, Focus Oklahoma, those types of groups, down to Epochs and Cores and groups like that are the philosophy groups. So I've really been able to have a kind of a diverse range of being able to go and speak. I love to speak on a number of different topics. Number one, I love to speak on just our headspace and our vision and our ability to get out of our own way. Everybody leaves a seminar talking about how they're going to go change the world, and 2 weeks later, they're back to their same habits. And so it's like nobody wants to address it. It's like the elephant in the room. They all go, everybody gets fired up. They're high-fiving about how they're going to save the planet. And 2 weeks later, like nobody's doing anything because they went back into the grind, as they like to call it. I hate that. Or the trench. That's even worse. Don't get me started on that one, by the way. But they get back to the grind because, your office is a grind. It's a place of healing, but it's a grind. It's a place of healing, but it's a trench. Makes no sense, gentlemen. Okay? All right, don't get me going on that one. But you go back to this office and 2 weeks later, you're sitting there going, oh man, what happened to all those notes that I took? What happened to all the action I was gonna take? Oh my gosh, we're not doing anything. Why? Because they get back into their same habits because nothing changed at the seminar. So I love to talk about headspace. I love to talk about action. I love to talk about truth. What is the truth about what you really want? And I think one of the uniqueness things that I can bring into it is that, look, years ago when I started coaching, my focus as a coach was I wanted to have 100 clients seeing 400 visits a week. And then I realized that was my ego. Then I realized it was the first time I started to realize volume didn't mean shit. And that's going to be another one that might trigger people. If anybody actually watches this, that will trigger those volume people. Because what happens is that we start to say that volume is what makes the doctor. If you're not seeing high volume, you're somehow not serving chiropractic. I used to think that way. What an asshole. What I started to realize is that there are moms out there who want to see 125 visits a week, and they want to be at home with their kids, and they want to connect with their kids. They want to run their own business, make a difference, and they want to be able to be with their kids. What's wrong with that? Who am I to tell them no, they should see 400 visits a week? Who am I for the man, the doctor, the man who wants to spend more time with his kids, and he wants to go home and be with his kids on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? But then there's people out there saying, no, you should work Monday through Saturday. 8 in the morning till 7 at night. And if you're not serving the world. You know what? That is one man's opinion or one woman's opinion. My opinion has been to create what you want. And to create what you want and live congruently by the same way you want your patients to live. If you want your patients to have an amazing relationship with their families, an amazing lifestyle, and be incredibly healthy through chiropractic, then you better walk through the door living what you're wanting them to live. Otherwise, it never happens.
Well, the other side of the story there, Dr. Troy, is shoulders burning out, low backs blowing out, divorces, people sedating. That's what it leads to when people aren't living congruent with what they want. And then what they end up doing, you've probably seen this too, they'll take anybody, any case off the street. They're like, I don't care, you're a number, I'm taking you.
It's not about philosophy anymore.
That guy's the biggest pain in the ass, or that gal, like they're like, yep, we're still taking you. There's no discernment with like case that they will actually take.
The avatar is everyone.
Everyone.
The avatar is everyone. So to answer your question is that, and this has been a growing process for me. I just told you, my initial vision was to take people down this path. And then all of a sudden I realized, and this is well before I had a family, I realized, but if you really want people to live like this incredible life, this incredible connected life, not just as a business owner, but as a human being, then you might need to find out what they want. find out what they want and then support them and guide them on the path to getting there. And, you know, if you look, like, it's so funny because I look at, there's a lot of people now who are all of a sudden, like in the last 6 to 8 months, they're talking about families and they're talking about how important it is to have family first. And look at all this time I spend with my family. And I'm like, I've been talking about this for years. Like for years, this has just been my shtick. It's been what I focused on. Having this headspace that is attractive and focused and creating good health and great relationships and a great sexual relationship with your spouse, one that is just like a love relationship that just grows and flourishes on, and looking at your kids and how do you connect with your kids and are you connecting with them so they know who you are? There's a reason you don't see me on the road much. There's a reason I say no. Because the most important people in my life live underneath this roof, and I can make an impact in the world without having to travel to Australia again, without having to travel to all these different places again. So I just don't, my travel schedule has really taken a hit by choice because I'm more interested in leading them and showing them how to make a difference than being away and mommy saying daddy's out making a difference. Not the absent father, no way. And again, gentlemen, there are some people out there right now are like, oh, that's bullshit. You need to sacrifice because people went to jail for us. And then there's other people out there like, my God, it's about time. You want uniqueness? It's about time somebody told me it's okay. It's okay if you only want to see 150 visits a week and you only want to work Monday through Thursday and you want to take great care of your families and you want to have amazing sex with your wife or your spouse or significant other. All those things are okay. You choose what it is, not me and not anyone else. When we can get past that, then all of a sudden, maybe we'll start to create an actual profession that's in harmony, not in a dictatorship.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Imaging Services, Posture Screen, Mahalo Wellness, Chiro Moguls, 5-Star Management, Chiro Health USA, Local Gold, The Goodman Factor, McCaffrey Clinical Mentoring, Chiro Thin, Unmarket Your Practice, and Free My Pain Now with Dr. Matt DeDuro. Let's hustle.
So I know we mentioned this briefly off camera, but for anyone who doesn't know, you also created Epoch, yes?
Yes, I did. Yes, sir. That is true. I feel like I'm on trial now. Yes, sir.
So what are some of your favorite quotes and mantras, words of wisdom?
God. You know what? I can't, like, I want to say something about Epoch really quick, because when you say Epoch and quotes and mantra, my head goes to like, oh my gosh, how am I going to give them 11 years worth of quotes and mantras? And I have to say this right now, because we even mentioned this earlier. The most impactful thing in my life right now when I think of Epoch is two people, and that's Caroline Malazia and Jeannie Ohm. I mean, even when you say Epoch now, like my head goes right to that place of those two women and their impact in my life, their impact in chiropractic, the human beings that they were, just who they were as people. See, here we go again. We go back to like, what's the uniqueness? Go back to the uniqueness of just who they were as people and their hearts that they wore on a sleeve. Jeannie Ohm taught me in this house, gentlemen, down 2 levels, in the basement, because that's where Epoch started, was my basement. We called it the dungeon. She sat down there in our basement before we were having our first child. She told my wife, if you need anything, call on me. I am here for you. And she sat there and she did this swaying dance. And I call it the birth dance. I don't know if that's what she called it or not. I know that that's what went into my head. And she started doing this swaying thing. And she said, birthing is this beautiful, emotional dance. And if you just sway and let your body do what it's supposed to do, you'll have an amazing birth. Like that stood in my head. And on the night that we gave birth to Wyatt, would have been the next morning, I saw my wife moving and swaying. And I thought of Jeannie Ohm. That's not a quote. That's just an amazing memory that I have of somebody who had a significant impact in my ability to be there and focused for my wife as we went through and had our first child. So I have to share that. I know it has nothing to do with what my favorite quote is or mantra, but it has everything to do with life and why we're in this game. Like that's one of many impacts that she had on me. My God, if we just thought of stories, we'd create the mantras. If you think of the stories of the people who've impacted our lives, we create mantras every single day, and those mantras can empower us to create whatever it is that we want. Now, if I'm going to share with you an actual mantra or a quote, number 1,
commit and go.
Commit and go. It's my podcast. It's something that I came up with about 15 years ago, maybe 13 years ago. at a program called Total Solution. Somebody was climbing a telephone pole. They had to jump off of it and they were shaking. And they're just giving me all the stories why they couldn't do it. And I finally just said, let's make a decision here. Do you want to do this? They said, yes. I said, great. I'm going to count backwards, 3, 2, 1. And when I do, I want you just to commit and go. Just do it. Just make it happen, because this is what's paralyzing you in life. And we counted backwards, 3 and 2 and 1, made the commitment, and she jumped and she leaped, and it's been with me ever since. And so it took many, many years later that I would start a podcast based on this. But it's based on why? Because when we go to a seminar, people make a lot of commitments, but they don't go. They don't take the action. It's a matter of making big commitments, taking big action, and create big ass results in your life and your business. So that's one. Number 2, it's from a book called Conversations with God. Don't know if you've heard of it or not. Really, really good book. It was referred to me way back in the day when I graduated from chiropractic school. So this would have been 1996, 1997. And I read this book called Conversations with God. I'm just out of school, and it was referred to me by Dr. Larry Markson and the doctor that I worked for. And I don't know if the book is still this way, but on the flap, on the inside cover of the book, in the finest of fine prints, there was this quote: "If it isn't impossible, it isn't worth doing." And that has stuck with me ever since. Like, we found it because we had like a little microscope, or not microscope, a little magnifying glass. And we saw these words and we're like, what are these words here? And we actually pulled it out and said, if it isn't impossible, it isn't worth doing. And it's stuck with me ever since.
So what would the world be able to accomplish if everyone started getting adjusted regularly?
What would the world be able to accomplish if everyone started getting adjusted regularly? Okay, so Patrick Gentempo quote. This is going back probably before you gentlemen were born. No, I'm kidding. You're just kids. Patrick did a talk, and he basically stood on stage and he said, look, if we teach the world about subluxation, we will make a change in the world. We'll make a difference. But if we can teach them about innate intelligence, the world will change in an instant. That's a very powerful quote. Again, one that has stood with me since the first time that I ever heard it. And I think that's the impact right there is, what could it create in the world in a very, very subluxated, twisted world? The possibilities are endless. Like, I know you want more of like an actual like concrete, give me an answer of what it looks like, but it's not. I can't do that because it becomes supposing. Like, I think it might be this. I think it might be this. What I can tell you is that I think it creates a world where there's less killing. I think it creates a world where there's more respect. I think it creates a world where there's more connection. I think it creates a world where there's less alcohol and more love. I think it creates a world of more hugs and people opening doors for each other. I think it creates a world of people looking at each other in the eyes instead of at their phones. I think it creates a world of a man being willing to walk up and see somebody struggling and helping them, lifting them up and maybe walking them to the door and getting them some water. I think it creates a world where people don't hesitate to go help the woman who's trying to put the groceries in her car but can't seem to lift that last bag. I think it creates a world of almost like it used to be so many years ago, where people were kind. It creates a world where we love, like at Christmas, there are like 20 to 25 days in December where we all look at each other and go, my God, why can't the world be this way? Outside of Black Friday, why can't this world be this way all the time? There's kindness and love that is just oozing from people in that 30-day period of time. But then we get to January 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and it's back to the grind again. And we forget the people that we were for those 30 days prior.
Well, I just want to share a quick story with you. I was coming home from running errands, and I see this old man with his truck backed up next to our parking spot. And I've been running around doing stuff, trying to like just stay on top because I'm never home. And I said, hey, do you need a hand moving that stuff? He's like, yeah, there's a couple heavy pieces I wouldn't mind having you help me with. So I took 10 minutes out of my day and I helped him move in a shelf and this heavy piece of like wood dresser thing. And his name's Mike. He was moving his grandson in. And yeah, it was just a special moment that you just brought that up, because I live unsubluxated and I am flowing with innate intelligence. And the things that chiropractic believes in, I believe in. And the thing that I would say on top of that is what you just mentioned, is it would make a lot of successful chiropractors too. And everybody would get the big idea. and we'd have a whole lot less problem in the profession because everybody that's in the profession would be too busy to worry about what everyone else was or wasn't doing.
Yep.
So that's an add-on to your answer, but it was really sweet for me. And Mike, wonderful gentleman, said he's asking me all these questions. He's like, "What do you do for a living?" I go, "I run a podcast." "Oh, what's that?" And then he's like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm from there." And anyways, he's like, "I'm from Galway." He's like, "Have you been to Ireland?" I was like, "Yeah, I've been there twice." He's like, "Wow, that's awesome." So we started like this instant rapport. And yeah, it's the act of kindness where I could have been too busy, had my headphones on, sent 25 text messages, rapid fire, or I could have like looked over at this old man lugging furniture into an apartment and said, "Hey, could I help you, ma'am?"
You know, kindness will always create connection. It will. Kindness will always create connection. And it's like, if we go back to my example of somebody sharing on my page, like an example of chiropractic, and somebody else coming in and kind of telling them that they're wrong. Like, what if somebody came in and just said, "Wow, that's a great perspective. Good for you.
I support you whether if I support you or not."
I support you whether it's the way I would explain it or not." Like, wow, what did you just do for that person's self-esteem? That you were willing to do that. And in a profession that is like, people need higher self-esteem, they need that level of support. If we all went to that place, which by the way, now you kind of sit there and go, damn, I mean, we all knew the profession was subluxated, but boy, it's really subluxated. Because if we weren't subluxated, then we would find ways to point out what's right instead of telling everybody what's wrong.
Truth.
So where do you see the profession going in the next 20 years or so?
Oh, man. So it's 1997, 98. I'm sitting in a seminar, and I am told there's never been a better time to be a chiropractor.
They said that this past weekend, too.
And then, well, you're ruining the story. Come on, Jim.
Spoiler alert.
God, yeah, spoiler alert. Don't watch the rest of the movie, folks. We got to the end already. So forget about 2001, 2003, 2004, 2006, 2008, 2010, 2011, 2013, 2014, 2015, 16, 17, 18. Jim, tell them what you heard this weekend. One more time.
There's never been a better time to
There has never been a better time to be a chiropractor. And guess what we'll still be saying in 20 years? I don't like to say it. I don't like to say it because what I know is that I know there's this whole new crew of, I have to say it this way now though, and I will. There's this whole new crew of young guns coming up, and you don't understand. We're going to be the ones to change it. You know who's creating the biggest, deepest impact right now? This is my opinion, is Billy D. Because he's ruthlessly committed, doesn't give a shit about what anybody thinks, and he's trying to take a message to a bigger platform to get deeper and more exposure about chiropractic and every other challenge that my children are facing. Other than that, we're putting on our seminars, which are great. Like, look, I love Paul Reed. I love Tim Young. Like, I love the programs that are going on. But if we don't start focusing on finding a way to work together, if we don't focus on finding a way to deliver a message and support each other, bring a little kindness to the picture, again, piss some people off. I don't care, because what we're doing isn't working. Throwing mud at each other isn't working. And in fact, it's creating strength for the other side. You know who the other side is? The dark side of the sports. The ones who want meditation, who want to get rid of the word subluxation. That's the dark side. Guess who's unified? The dark side. The dark side doesn't sit there and say, you suck at adjusting. They say, add some more traction modalities and build that shit. That's their level of support. Way to go. Good for you. Chiropractic rules. Let's get rid of those people who are believing in this. Let's get rid of the antiquated, old school thinking about subluxation. Let's get rid of them because they all hate each other anyway. Look at how they talk to each other. Our battle is right here. That's our battle. And if we don't do something about it, what happens is all these young guns come up, blazing piezoforms, baby. And what happens is that they get beaten down. And the next generation comes and they get beaten down till we're back to adjusting in back dark alleys. So where is it at in 20 years? I pray to God it's more universal. I pray to God that more people understand. I pray to God that chiropractors start to come together more for a message that makes sense to help more people, because if it doesn't, it is going to lead to the demise of this profession.
Well said. One thing I will say is you got so fired up when you came towards the screen that you might have bumped your mic, and it's kind of giving us a hissing noise.
Okay, I might be hissing too.
No, it's definitely the mic.
Let me try this, see if that helps. And I'll try this.
Almost.
It's
See
like
better?
loud piercing.
It's like a piercing pitch.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's even worse now.
I probably actually like did something to my, I hit the computer. I didn't mean to. So I apologize. Hopefully it's
Remember earlier we were talking about being a dentist? It sounds like that part.
I can hear the feedback too. That's why I tried to click on mute off and it didn't really do anything. So let's see if I can try this.
Is it a mic that you can?
How's that right now?
It's
better.
It's better.
I just switched. If that works, we'll go with that. Or I can put a headset on if that'll work.
We'll just roll this way.
We'll just keep.
We're coming up to the edge of the episode.
I'm fired up. I'm sorry I hit my computer. Sorry.
Love your answer though.
Yeah, and you're honestly you're the first guy to ever like be so excited that you blew up your audio.
Well, look, when you invited me months ago, I don't know if you remember, there was some comment that I made and it was more of a disruptive type comment. And I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like, I'm just not here to like rub people and make them feel good. I'm tired of that. I spent years on the road motivating people and they weren't taking action. When you start doing that and you're leaving your family to try to get people to take action and they don't do it, you got to find other ways to get people to take action. And what I realized is I wasn't speaking my truth. That was what the problem was. I was wanting more likes, right, from stage. I was more interested in the likes and that you come up and tell me it was an awesome talk afterwards. And I wasn't being myself. I wasn't sharing my true story. When I first started speaking, I was nervous as shit all the time, but I didn't care. And I just went out and delivered a message. But there became a point in time where I started actually worrying about what people were thinking. And then all of a sudden there was an awakening many, many years ago where I was like, I'm done worrying about that. Like I could easily have given you that politically correct answer that everyone wants to hear. And here's how we're going to save the world. Profession's going to be so much better. But as Jim spoiled my story, what do we know? You just heard it this weekend. There's never been a better time to be a chiropractor. And they were saying it years before I heard it in 1997, 98. It's the same story, unfortunately, same results. So something has to change.
So this is the part of the show where we're going to talk about you personally, aside from work and business. What kind of other podcasts do you like to listen to? What books are you in the middle of reading? And what are some of your hobbies?
Whew. All right. So podcasts, I listen to Garrett White, who is founder of Wake Up Warrior. Gary Vaynerchuk, love Gary V. Russell Brunson, ClickFunnels. I mean, just Russell Brunson alone, if you just dive into his information, you're pretty much done for the next 10 years. There's so much to absorb from everything the guy puts out, from books to podcasts. Right now I'm like knee deep in, I can't remember the guy's name. Shoot, he's a copywriter. So I'm studying copywriting right now.
Okay.
Can't remember his name whatsoever. He also just came out with a book. Russell Brunson was just advertising it. He just came out with a book, Copywriting Secrets. So I'm spending a lot of, I kind of alternate. I go from audio to video to reading. And I usually try to pick two and then just put those into my routine on a morning basis and a daily basis.
So hobbies, what do you like to do?
I love to have sex with my beautiful wife. I love to go bike riding and play with my kids, whether it's Hot Wheels, Legos, being silly, having 90 seconds of fun. We love to go boating. We love to go jet skiing. Like you put me in a position of family time and I'm pretty much the happiest dude in the world. Love going on dates with my wife and sitting and watching. What I mean by that is I love to sit and watch them laugh, watch them play, and just be able to be in the space that we've created for them and experience life with them.
Well, bro, you're the first guy to ever say having sex was your hobby on our podcast. So,
My God, why wouldn't it be? Shit. So look, it's a matter of like, why wouldn't you talk about it? Because it's an important part of a relationship. And there's so many who are sedating with alcohol, they're sedating with TV, they're sedating with sleep, and they're not connecting to their spouses. So like, that's an important part of a relationship. Intimacy is an important part of a relationship. Flirting with my wife, an important part of the relationship. Like, these are all things that happen in order for us to create a deeper connection. And guess what? When her and I are connected, we're way more powerful.
amen, brother.
So I got to share it. And then hopefully somebody else hears it and it's like, damn, I need to, first of all, and by the way, for the one who's not getting laid, just to be clear, it doesn't mean go to your wife or spouse or significant other tonight and say, hey, let's have more sex. You're probably not going to get it. What it does mean is do the work. I pour into my relationship with my wife every single day. It's a part of who I am. I pour into my kids every single day. It's a part of who I am. If you want something bad enough, you'll do the work to get it.
You're a champion, brother. Thanks for sharing with us today.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Sorry I broke my technology. That really blows.
No problem. But before we all get kicked off here, what are some web resources or links where people can learn more about you and what you're doing?
I'll tell you what, we have, we're just releasing, we're getting done with the edit, but people can opt in right now. They can go to retentionmistakes.com, retention mistakes, and I share the top 10 mistakes people are making in their patient retention. Or they can go to the Commit and Go podcast. Just head on over to iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and just follow me there. You'll get fire from me 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. I spend less than 10 minutes just giving you some level of daily fuel to help to get you focused and doing what I've been talking about here. Take real action in your life and in your business.
Perfect, brother.
All right. That pretty much wraps up this episode. Dr. Troy, I want to thank you very much for being our guest today.
Thank you, gents. I appreciate it. This was fun. So I'm glad I got to be the first to do many things here.
You're one of the coolest guys. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks, man. God bless you. Thank you so much.
We'll talk soon, okay?
All right. Take care.
Yeah.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.